Hi, how are you doing this week? This past weekend in my newsletter, make sure you sign up for that. In the newsletter, I had an article about parent involvement, and I discussed several ways that you can get involved as a parent in your child's success. And one of the things on my list was academic, being involved in their academics. And so I want to specifically target that for today's post. So I want to talk to you about being aware of your child's current academic situation, and there are several ways that you can do that. So I want to talk today about three different ways to do that. So the first thing I want to talk about is tracking grades. Obviously, that's how the schools measure students' progress is by their grades, and so that's one measure of student success. And one way to ensure that you're up to date on that is to track grades. And depending on your school district, there are lots of more technological savvy ways to track grades. For example, in my children's school district, we have a grade speed system, but different schools use different systems, and many districts are now moving to an online system where you can go online, teachers post grades. Depending on the frequency, the district might have a policy, the teacher themselves might have a policy about how frequently. But I would say at least on a weekly basis, you can get an update on your student's grade situation. So if you're not on that, please get on that. Track grades. Obviously, if your school doesn't have that kind of system, then you need to figure out a different way to communicate with teacher or have some sort of system for tracking grades and teaching your student how to keep up with papers and organization. But one way for you as a parent to be up to date is with an electronic grade tracking system. Also, depending on the system that your school district uses, you could be more aware of just more than just grades. So, for example, with our system, when teachers put in grades, I can set the system so that if my children's grades drop below a certain level, and I can determine that level, whatever number I'm targeting, the moment a grade drops below that level in a class, I get an email, so I know that. And you can set up those kinds of alerts. But in addition to grades, with our system, I set it up so that I get an email if my children are late for class. So with a child, multiple classes, I know immediately that she was late for third period. And so there are all sorts of levels of alerts that you can use in those systems. So I would strongly encourage you to get involved with an electronic system. If you're not aware, make sure you talk with the teachers or the principal for your campus. But find out about the electronic system and use that as a way to keep track of where the grades are. And another thing about that is that get your child involved. Let them see what the system looks like so that they can understand. You can see in those systems if they're missing grades. Let your child know, hey, this grade is missing. Also, often with those systems, you can see what upcoming assignments are. So if you have a child who's not done a good job of tracking that through some other manner of organization, you can at least go into the system and have them see, hey, this assignment is coming up. How are you doing on that? Or this assignment is due tomorrow, or it was due yesterday, and why don't you have a grade? But again, this is an excellent means for you to stay up to date on their academic progress. So if your school district has an electronic system, and most of them now do, make sure that you understand how to get registered so that you can keep up-to-date information about their grade situation. Okay. The next thing that I want to encourage you to do in the area of academics is to get to know your child's teacher. Now, we're all in different situations. If you're a stay-at-home mom, perhaps you have more access and more opportunity to volunteer in the classroom. That's an excellent way to get to know the teachers, particularly given our situation with budget cuts and what have you. I am sure that teachers are going to need even more support. And so if you are in a situation where you either are a stay-at-home mom or you have a flexible work schedule and you can give that time, teachers truly would appreciate it. And again, it gives you the opportunity to get to know your child's teacher, and for them to get to know you, and y'all can work together as a team. Obviously, not everyone is in that situation, so if you're not in a position where you can give time during the day, still make sure that your teacher, the child's teacher, knows who you are. So you can do that by obviously visiting before school, when back to school night comes, but also through email. If your schedule just doesn't permit you to be there during the day, through email. But make sure you stop and take the time to get to know the teacher, and the teacher gets to know you. In so doing, what you're trying to do is build a team situation between you and the teacher. It's not that you're against the teacher or that it's you against them. You're working together because you're both there for the support of your child. And so making sure that your teacher understands that y'all are working together, that you're there to support each other, so that if the teacher has questions about how to approach some situation, no one knows your child better than you, so you can give that teacher that kind of input so that they can better tailor your child's educational experience. So again, I encourage you to take the time and make the effort to get to know your child's teacher. And last, my last point, uh, should go without saying, but I'm going to say it. Get your child to school on time. So obviously a child can't learn if the child is not at school. So it's really important that you get your child to school every day. And it's also really important that you get your child to school on time, because you're setting a tone for your child that when you go to work, you have to be on time. You're creating that habit, but also you're setting the tone of making them understand that this is their job and this is important for them. By getting them late or nonchalantly getting there, you kind of devalue this experience, and you want education to be important to your child, and you show that by making sure that they're there on time every day. So again, it goes without saying, but they can't learn if they're not there. And by getting them there late, you're distracting that morning process. So get them there and get them there on time. So again, those are my 3 points. There are many other things you can do, but I think those are 3 very important things to focus on if you want to focus specifically on being involved academically in your child's life. Okay, see you next time.